What up, peeps? Just want to make a quick video to share something with you that I found. This book I read when I was about 11 years old. It was one of my first books ever, all about the wonders of chemistry. And it's an older book from the 50s. I think it's 1951 or something, but it's like sponsored by like Dow, or not sponsored, but thanks to like Dow Chemicals and Firestone Company. It's like all the old, early companies, but it's really fascinating because it starts out talking about how you're reading this book made of paper, that's made from wood, that's, with light that comes through your window. And it's the first thing that ever made me think about quantum physics on a really deep level and understand it. But this one part that's I always thought it was pretty funny, was the explanation of what fire is. And I'll tell you, in the old days, you'd think that people would be aware, a little more aware than we were, but up until even the founding of our country, we weren't really aware of how fire existed. In fact, first, this one chapter here, number 2, what our world is made of. I just want to read you a quick part from it about what they thought the fire was. Modern chemistry began at about the time our country got its independence. The question that interested scientists was an old one. What happens when things burn? Up until that time, the best idea was anything that could burn contained something they called phlogiston. That's PHLOGISTON. Pretty wild. I mean, they gotta have a theory, though. And as the material burned, the phlogiston was given up. It seemed to be a sensible idea, because after a piece of wood or coal is burned, there's only a little ash left, and most of the material itself has disappeared. So you can see why they dreamed up this mysterious, invisible phlogiston to explain what happens. One of the people who wondered about the phlogiston idea was an English minister and amateur chemist named Joseph Priestley. He found that when a certain mineral was heated, a gas was given off. After filling a bottle with this gas, now called oxygen, he found that things burned more quickly in it than open air. Then, over in France, a brilliant scientist named Antoine Lavoisier checked Priestley's experiment and went on to try something else. Blah, 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 and it starts experimenting, and they talked about putting bottles down over candles and whatnot. I just thought that was a fascinating thought. The thought that even a few hundred years ago, people didn't really understand what oxygen was, and, it's not their fault. I just mean that we have learned so much in such a short period of time that we kind of take it for granted. And that's why people are so insulted when science starts to people are so bothered when science starts to insult, people's own theories or ideas. They say, well, that's not scientific, and that's not scientific, but science is ever changing, and the scientific method, while a good one, they often forget that things once existed, like phlogiston. So all I can say is, what is today's phlogiston? Is today's phlogiston the belief that everything's here by chance? Who knows? But tomorrow we might find out. I don't know. But the phlogiston thing, don't forget it. That's a really cool word to bring up. Be like, hey, maybe that thing's loaded up with phlogiston.